Hey there, interwebs, and welcome back to Who? Fascinating. A How Fascinating sub-series where we look at interesting yet obscure historical figures of interest. As I've alluded to before, I'm a fan of the channel Forgotten Weapons, because although I'm not really a firearms aficionado, I do get a kick out of history and engineering, no surprise there. In one of his videos, Ian brought up an American mechanic by the name of Walter Hunt and mentioned that 3 of his inventions were the safety pin, the fountain pen, and the rocket ball, a very early type of firearm cartridge. He followed it up with, I think we all know which of those 3 is the coolest. Now, maybe it's just my engineer brain in action, but I immediately thought, yeah, the safety pin! Admittedly, the rocket ball cartridge has connections to guns and rocketry, which are both very cool, but it was a piss-weak cartridge and obsolete within a decade of its invention. The fountain pen, for contrast, is still in use today, although it's largely been superseded by cheap and easily available ballpoint pens, or biros if you're British. The safety pin, however, is still in widespread use, and its simple, elegant, and most importantly efficient design have granted it lasting popularity and ensured that nothing has yet replaced it over 170 years later. But Walter Hunt wasn't just a 1 or even 3 trick pony. He invented things ranging from the mundane, such as his self-closing inkwell, to the exotic, like his antipodian apparatus, a device which allowed circus performers to walk on the ceiling, to the esoteric, like his ice plow, nail-making machine, and improved flax spinner. For that last one, he received his first ever patent in 1826, when he was 30 years old. He received a second patent the following year after moving to New York City and designing a foot-pedal-operated gong for streetcars, and he was allegedly inspired to create it after witnessing a small girl get hit by a horse-drawn carriage on his first day in the big city. This invention alone likely saved countless lives, but it's done very little to preserve his own in the public memory. I suspect the reason he is practically unheard of today is largely because he was one of those poor souls who was good at making everything except money. Hunt's modus operandi, it seems, consisted of inventing things and selling the patent rights, rather than licensing his designs and accepting royalties. It is suspected that his motivation for this was that he was not otherwise wealthy and regularly in need of some quick cash. Unfortunately for him, it seems at times he didn't realize how significant many of his inventions would be. For example, he sold the patent rights to his aforementioned safety pin design for $400, just so he'd have the cash to pay off a $15 debt. For reference, $15 back in 1849 would be worth about $435 now, and $400 would be around $11,500, give or take a decent bagel. Aside from the safety pin and guns and ammo, Hunt's third most noteworthy invention was the lock-stitch sewing machine. According to popular legend, he initially created it in 1833, but refused to patent it because his daughter raised concerns that its commercial use would put professional seamstresses out of work. The Singer Sewing Machine Company then stole the idea and made millions, and he never got paid a cent. That's the usual story anyway. It seems more likely, however, that he believed it wouldn't be commercially viable and did not wish to put his family in debt for a second time after the financial failure of his Globe Stove Company. Instead, he sold the rights to produce it to his recurrent business partner George Arrowsmith, but due to a surfeit of seamstresses working for cheap at the time, as well as a financial crash and a cholera epidemic, Arrowsmith was also unable to raise the necessary startup capital from investors. Neither man ever bothered to patent the seemingly worthless design, and it slipped into obscurity for more than a decade. By the 1850s, the Industrial Revolution had run its course, and one Isaac Singer was making money hand over fist with his newfangled sewing machines. This led to him being taken to court for patent violation, but not by Hunt. Instead, the litigious party was the now famous Elias Howe, who had patented his own lock-stitch sewing machine back in 1846. As part of its legal defense, Singer's company pointed out that the design of their sewing machines already existed before Howe's patent, and cited Hunt's model from 13 years prior. This legal battle and potential fortune in royalties spurred Hunt to get involved and sue Singer himself, but despite acknowledging that Hunt invented the design first, the patent office refused to grant him a retroactive patent for his original design and upheld Howe's patent. Nevertheless, Singer agreed to settle with Hunt out of court and pay him $50,000 in unofficial royalties, which would be worth about $1.56 million today, but Hunt tragically died of pneumonia in June of the following year before receiving the payment. In brief, Howe got the patent but lost the court case, and Hunt lost the patent and died before Singer could pay him. Walter Hunt and Elias Howe are both buried today in Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, and although he achieved neither fame nor fortune in his lifetime, Hunt still died a well-respected man. His New York Tribune obituary stated, "Whether in mechanical movements, chemistry, electricity, or metallic compositions, he was always at home, and, probably in all, he has tried more experiments than any other inventor." Thanks for watching, and have a fascinating day.